February 18th, 2026. I'm Jeannie Farber, Chair of the Board of Water and Sewer. I'm calling this meeting to order at 1 p.m. We're meeting in a hybrid format over Zoom and are live streamed on channel 1072. Is that right?
One of those.
Yeah, I think it's 1072. This meeting is being recorded and I will take attendance. Mark Burson,
Mark Burson is here.
Tim Brady,
Here.
Tim Coonahan,
Here.
Ginny Farber's here, John Meyer,
Here.
Kevin Mahoney,
Here.
Mary Wright,
Here.
Lynn Bruno,
Lynn Bruno here.
okay, and Dan Meany has tenured his resignation as of last week sometime. So Lynn is going to be voting on the public hearing, and then John Meyer will continue with the rest of the meeting. So our first order of business today is a public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. And also in the room is Sue Brown, Mike Leahy, and Adam Curtis from Veolia, Marina from Veolia, Kevin Galligan from the Select Board, Elaine Baird from the Finance Committee, and John Nelson from the Health Department. Thank you. All right, so our first order of business is a public hearing called for 1 o'clock today. Town of Orleans Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners, notice of public hearing. The Orleans Board of Water and Sewers Commissioners will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026 at 1 p.m. in the Nauset Meeting Room at the Orleans Town Hall. The purpose of the hearing is for the board to receive public input and opinion regarding activities within the watershed as outlined in the Watershed Management Plan and any increase or decrease of those activities that they see fit. A copy of the current watershed management plan is available from the town clerk and the Orleans Water Department, DPW Building, 40 Gedaya Hill Road. If you are unable to attend the public hearing, written comments will be accepted until Thursday, February 12th, 2026. So very briefly, because we've been through this exercise for quite a while now, I will go through the changes to the watershed plan that we brought forward to this public hearing. And the first is on page 3 of 7. It is item 3C, and it is an addition of information about the WIC wells and water quality monitoring wells that were not in existence when this plan was last revised. So I'll just read it into the record. Tank number 1, tract 32 Lots Hollow Road, map 47, parcel 96, 3.88 acres. This tract is located near the town waste recycling facility and contains a standpipe, new language, 5 WIC wells and 4 water quality monitoring wells as shown on the attached AECOM plan titled WIC Locations, WIC Evaluations, dated October 30th, 2025. The groundwater discharge from the town of Orleans wastewater treatment plant does not exceed 500,000 gallons per day. On the next page, under number 4A, partway down, the language that I'll just read it, it's easier. DEP Zone 1 is the area contained within a circle with a 400-foot radius surrounding each public water supply well. This area is critical to the protection of the public water supply, and no activities will be allowed in Zone 1 except those directly related to the procedure, production, treatment, and protection of drinking water, new language, or which have no significant adverse impact on water quality. And the third item is on page 5 of 7, item 5B3, new language. It is the policy of the Board of Water and Sewer Commission to not allow herbicide or pesticide use on watershed properties and to maintain areas so that they are not needed, they meaning herbicides and pesticides. So with that, is there any public comment in the room? Peggy, is there any public comment online?
No hands raised.
Okay. Given that there is no public comment, could I get a motion to close the public hearing? Yes, Tim?
Yes, you can have a motion to close the
Oh,
public hearing.
thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second, and we will do this by roll call. So Tim Brady,
We need a motion then to,
no, to close. We're just,
just
all we're
voting.
doing is
Oh, sorry.
closing. Right now, just
I got
closing.
excited.
Okay, that's all right. Tim Brady,
Aye.
Lynn,
Lynn Bruno, aye.
Mark Person, aye.
Kevin Mahoney, aye.
Jenny Farber, aye.
Abstain.
Thank
Don
you.
Meyer, abstain.
Mary Wright, aye.
Aye, Tim Coonahan.
Okay, so that's 700. And then, as Lynn suggested, I would like to know if there's any discussion or questions about the watershed management plan. Tim, do you have one?
Yeah, I just have one, and I may have missed it earlier. On page 4.7, the part that says which have no significant adverse impact, I don't think that should be added at all. It's in a zone 1 of a well, which is the most restrictive part of the well, of the well areas. And we only have one chance to protect the groundwater in the area. You might allow some use in that area in the future, and then we get to the point where somebody all of a sudden does something where we say, oh, we didn't expect that to happen. So I don't think there should be any additional consideration in that DEP Zone 1 area.
Yeah,
That is the definition as written by DEP.
It
to-
includes
To
that?
include that.
Yes, which is why we included it.
And because we allow walking, jogging, and cross-country skiing, which happens to run through the Zone 1. So if we don't have or, which have no significant impact, we wouldn't be able to allow those things in those areas. And the road runs right through those areas.
Could we change that to address the existing uses that are there, rather than saying no significant adverse impact?
Oh,
I mean, who's gonna determine in the future what an adverse impact is?
This board.
And even then
Currently,
it's
they
left
are what's in C, walking, jogging, cross-country
Yeah.
skiing.
All right.
Tim, did you have a question or
I
comment?
think Sue answered the way I would have.
Okay, thank you. And that was your concern, so.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion to accept the watershed management plan as revised and presented on today? It would be February 8th, it would have a date of February 18th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No? Okay, so could I get a roll call vote?
Tim Brady, aye.
Lynn Bruno, aye.
Mark Person abstains.
Kevin Mahoney, aye.
Jenny Farber, aye.
Don Meyer, abstain.
Mary Wright, aye.
Aye, Tim Coonahan.
Okay, so that's going to be 601, Marina. Thank you. So,
0.
yeah,
Abstention.
no,
Okay.
we're good. Thanks. So our next order of business is public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Seeing none. Peggy, is there any public comment online?
No hands raised.
Perfect, thank you. The next is the minutes of January 21st and 2026, and we're going to not act on those today. There are some edits that we need to make, and so they'll be on the next agenda. Under new business, commitments, abatements, and refunds. Yes, sir.
I'd like to move to change the order by putting the old business ahead of everything else, because I think the time and energy ought to be spent on what's there. So I would ask that you consider placing the categories you have in old business ahead of, I guess, sewer and department report.
That's a board decision. I think personally, we have visitors in the room, and I would prefer not to have them have to wait, but that is a board decision.
Okay.
What is the sense of the board?
I would
I'm fine with proceeding as outlined in the agenda.
stay with the agenda.
Okay,
For the folks that are here.
thank you. I understand what you're saying, Mark,
agree.
But I think we have a lot of people here who are about to present, so, thank you. So Sue, could you run through the commitments, abatements, and refunds, please?
Have before you sewer commitments totaling $15,765.50 for your approval.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Okay. Mark?
Mark
No.
Person, aye.
Kevin Mahoney, aye.
Ginny Farber, aye.
John Meyer, aye.
Mary Wright, aye.
I, Tim Conahan.
Okay, 700. Next,
Commitments, water commitments, January 2026 totaling 500, well, there's sewer rate here as well, totaling $589,750.18.
So moved.
second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Tim?
Tim Brady, aye.
Mark?
Mark Person, aye.
Kevin Mahoney, aye.
Ginny Farber, aye.
John Meyer, aye.
Mary Wright, aye.
I, Tim Conahan.
Thank you, that's 700.
And then we have an abatement for the town of Orleans for property purchased at 76 Route 6A, totaling $65.06.
So moved.
Is that a one-time error? Okay,
Well, it was the final bill of the property
okay. Back in,
back in '22.
something like that, right, I saw that. Okay, I get it. Thank you. I have a second, right?
Second.
All those in favor?
Tim
Tim?
Brady, aye.
Mark Person, aye.
Kevin Mahoney, aye.
Ginny Farber, aye.
John Meyer, aye.
Mary Wright, aye.
I, Tim Conahan.
That's 700. Thank you. Sewer Department reports. Rich is not with us today. His intention had been to present the budget to us. The suggestion is that since we likely will have a meeting on March 4th to confirm, or to, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Substantial completion.
Right, to accept substantial completions, thank you. On Phase 2 sewer, he would like to present the budget. Then, and I think that's it. Unless, John, you want to talk about the number of connections briefly. This is for Phase 1.
Phase 1. John Nelson, Town of Orleans. We have probably about 40 properties outstanding. I think overall, I have to work with Meredith on some of the deferral dates and stuff like that, but there's 56 properties left. Out of that, there's a lot of deferrals, a lot of land-only properties and stuff. So there's 35 to 40 that are a little troublesome.
Okay, and those are all with the Board of Health, and they're
At
running through their process?
Yeah, I have to meet with Meredith to kind of fine tune what the next step will be. They did run through the show cause hearings.
Right.
A few were fined. Now it's up to them to see if they want to be a little more proactive on that or
Okay.
how. I didn't have any say in any of that, so it's whatever they go by.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Pretty much your favorite. Thank you.
Thank you. Wastewater Management Advisory Committee update. Kevin, do you want to take that? It was a rich meeting.
Happy to. So wastewater management has a full plate of activities. I'll just kind of highlight the main thing that you'll see once it pops in the select board meeting packet. A recommendation was voted on the Mill Pond alternatives evaluation. If folks remember last town meeting, there was funding appropriated for a short-term limited option study. We evaluated, or with our consultants, who evaluated 10 potential actions to improve the health of Mill Pond well in advance of any sewering that might occur in the future. What we came down to is a vote to proceed. Again, this is a recommendation to the select board. They'll have to accept it or ask questions and decide what they'd like to do. But the three proposed actions we have, again, is knowing the success that we've had in the Lonnie's Pond aquaculture program, recommend an aquaculture deployment that actually might be a little bit larger than what occurs in Lonnie's because of the area in Mill Pond that could support that. The second is a proposed permeable reactive barrier, or PRB, along Deer Run. This would be up gradient of Mill Pond and in a way, in addition to any future sewering, so it's not duplicative of any work in the future. And last but not least, our favorite subject is limit controls and enforcement of fertilizer bylaw, because we really have documented the incredible benefit that comes by people not applying fertilizer, particularly in Mill Pond, but it really applies to all properties in town. We went over, so that's kind of the Mill Pond study. There will be some costing done in our roadmap, I think the word was mentioned, as to how we implement these recommended actions. So that's going to follow pretty quickly at our next wastewater management meeting to be in time to get any funding requests to the select board within the deadline of March 2nd. Because then March 4th begins the final chapter of the fiscal year 27 budget and get to town meeting. So that's pretty much on Mill Pond. You heard an update just now from John Nelson in terms of the connections on Phase 1. You know what's coming as far as Phase 2 substantial completion. I can also vouch for, I happen to have been coming back from a meeting Friday morning. I enjoyed the visit the DEP had on Friday morning at the clear water test of our new pump station. All went great. Adam might pop that in on his update. Really great team effort. A few programming areas to follow up on, but essentially the physical aspect of things worked fine. So that was really successful. DEP came in, very procedural, checked the boxes, sign here, and off they went. So yes, thank you, DEP.
Do we
So
look good for, do we
pleased.
look good for March 4th?
I can't say that.
Okay.
There were a few programming areas that needed to be, I think the words were certified. So I have not seen that happen, but we're close, very, very close. So I think the only other thing that you should be aware of is Phase 3 sewer project. We are still waiting for Mass DEP to accept the plan specifications to allow the town to go out to bid for Phase 3. That's likely to happen in the next month. And fingers crossed, good bids under the appropriation. We should be able to award in the June timeframe to kick off work on Phase 3. in the fall of this year. And last but not least, Phase 4 is under the study phase, just beginning to look at what the study area might be, all with the idea of meeting our regulatory obligations.
Busy.
That's it.
Okay. Questions for Kevin? Okay, thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. We're on to the Veolia update, and we have with us today, we have Zach Donahue and, yes?
Mike Leahy.
I'm sorry. I looked at the name. We have Mike Leahy and also Adam Curtis is in the room.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Leahy. I'm a regional manager with Veolia. I'm here today to inform you that Dan Sullivan-Zenos is no longer with the Orleans wastewater operation. He has moved on to another Veolia project. In the interim, Adam Curtis will be overseeing operations. Our recruiting department is currently seeking out candidates for Dan's replacement. I made a commitment to Rich Waldo that we would keep him involved in that process, and he'll be engaged with us. And with that, Adam will give you a little update on last month's operations.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down today.
Good afternoon, Board. Adam Curtis, Veolia Operations Supervisor. So, a few notes here. I just want to say sorry for not having the January monthly operating report done with the staffing changes we just had. We're getting a little caught up. We will have that hopefully out to you soon. But I can give you guys an update, a few things that happened in January. So the plant is in good standing. We're in compliance. Everything is good in that respect. A few things that happened in January. Of course, we've had a lot of snow. You guys know, been doing a lot of snow removal. I want to thank the town DPW, Calvin, Rich. I know they're not here, but they're always, giving us a hand salting up there, helping us get up the driveway. We plow the plant, but we've worked well together, so that's been really good. A few other things is the town IT was up at the plant to update the septage computer. And they had a few of the students from the Cape Cod Tech there to do the job, and they're being overseen by the town IT. It was really nice to see the students up there participating and being involved, so that was really nice. We had Mar Corporation out to test the carbon and the odor control up at the plant, just to see where we're at with that. They tested the carbon, everything's good to go. We still have plenty of life in that carbon, so no need to think about replacement anytime soon. EDR, our SCADA team, they were on site at the pump stations. I'm doing some updates to just make it more user-friendly, telling us which pumps are lead, lag, which one comes on, which one's going to pumping next. So they had to come on site for that to be able to do those updates. Let's see. For the plant water skid, it's the plant water system, the water that gets reused. It pumps back up into the plant for all of our process. One of the motors has been really sounding bad. We had Williamson Pump, the representative of the plant water skid, out. We did some testing. The motor's gone bad. We're going to replace one of the motors, but we have two other pumps that are functional and fine. That's pretty much the update for January. I know Kevin had mentioned about talking about the Pump Station 4 Clearwater test. So it went very well. Everything's functioning as it should. The few issues were programming issues, and one was the generator not calling out to the on-call operator. So when the generator goes off, we lose power, the generator fires up, we're supposed to get a call saying generator's running. That did not call out, that was just a simple programming issue. We had our SCADA team was able to, no problem, do that. It was working fine. It called out to Marina. It tested, that's good. The other issue we're having is with the ball floats. So we have a transducer that has a level. It tells you how much level of liquid is in the wet well. And there's a ball float as the backup. Well, the ball float should take precedent over the transducer. And with what happened is the transducer being high level, we want to see a low level float and never called out. So it's a programming issue. I contacted EDR to make the changes. They have to be on site because there's no fiber optics running. So they actually have to plug into the PLC here on site. And they're hoping to be able to do that on Monday and get this taken care of so we can be set for the March 4th meeting. A few other things is like CC Constructions has to stencil pump 1 and 2. So as an operator, when you're opening the wet well, you know which one's pump, which one's pump 1, which one's pump 2. In case, pump fails, you quickly can look down and say, hey, this is what's the issue is. And that's all I had, if anyone has any questions.
Great. Any questions from the commission? Thank you for stepping in.
No problem. Thank you very much.
So are the bugs happier now that we've gotten a little warmer weather?
Yeah, they are definitely. The process right now is looking good and just steady as she goes, not touching much and just letting it go. But yeah, no, the warmer weather's helping. The melting's helping. So yeah, definitely
We've
doing
got a
a little
bump
bit
in
better.
population this week, so that should help.
Yes, yeah, the flows have been up. Actually, just to mention, for January, septage was about half of last year. With the ground being frozen,
Right.
about a foot of snow on top of it, not many haulers are digging up yards, digging up covers and pumping. You're getting a lot of like the tight tanks, which the covers are exposed. But yeah, so it's about half of the septages last January. So,
I
but
just
it's
want you to know, I was one of the ones that contributed, though. Just so you know, but some of us did have to be pumped out.
Well, thank you, Mary.
I saw John Martin was up there today. Yes, thank you very much for
Yes,
your.
it was. Yes, it
You know, I
was.
did see that. Did see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
After
Yes.
yesterday?
Yeah, oh, it's been yeah, anyway, we don't have to take public time on this
Okay.
one. I'm just reassuring everyone that it does continue to flow.
It does. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much. So moving on, the Water Department report. Thank you very much, Sue, for the operating report. You want to, it's your turn,
My turn?
your turn.
I'm going to start prior to giving the report that, going back to the public hearing and the watershed management plan, there is a signature page, so I'm going to pass it around for those who did not abstain to sign.
Okay, thank you.
Now for the report. So in it, I gave you highlights, recent highlights for January. At the time, there were 16 water main breaks, 2 of which occurred in the middle of the snowstorm we had. So the guys were plowing, stopped plowing, repaired a water main break, finished that, found out there was another one, finished that, and then went back to plowing. So they had quite the 24 hours there. HVAC upgrade, Desert Air came out on February 5th and installed new software on, both humidifiers had faulted. So they installed new software on humidifier 1, and a leak was discovered on humidifier 2 that they, G&H came out and repaired on February 9th. But on February 5th, they installed new software there as well. Everything currently is running well. The contractor did secure an extended warranty for us due to the problems we were having, so I'm pleased with that. DEP is looking to come out and do an inspection of the work because this was under a DEP grant. They're looking to come out on Monday for that. We did a Munis software upgrade. It's, I think I did the PO back before Kathy Doan was here, so
Oh my
that's how
God.
long this has been in the works.
You don't want to rush into these things.
It was finally completed, and not without its problems. As most software improvements go, there are aches and pains. Thank you to Laura Marshall for figuring out some of them. I mean, when she first did an address change, it moved over to the new owner, but the water bill didn't follow. So she figured it out. The new system wants you to do a final bill and then create a new account. If we had to create a new account number for each, we'd have files, way too many files. So she was able to figure out a way to do that. So I really appreciate the work she put into that. The other problem was billing. Laura did a test run with both our online bill pay system and our bill print system as part of the conversion. Everybody said everything was fine, we're ready to go. We get to ready to go, neither of them were fine. The online bill pay people, they worked 24/7 to get it up and running and working. I really have to give credit to them. They accepted their mistake and fixed it. Our bill print company, on the other hand, has washed their hands of us. They're not even going to try. So we ended up having to print the bills ourselves in-house. And you can see at a loss of I thought it was going to be worse than that, but it was only a loss of $791 of the, from budgeted billing expenses. We are currently looking for a new bill print company. And I think Laura's found one, so there'll be updates on that.
Wow.
The next is customer leaks in Ion Water. You can see the graph. The blue graph is the current leaks, or at the time I printed this. We really focus on the critical leaks, which is the far right column. The far left column are very small, less than 10 gallons an hour. We do send letters to people. If we have their email, we'll add their email, and they'll get email notifications. Then it's really up to them if they want to fix it or not. The critical ones, we really work hard to try and find them and inform them. We will go out to the property. Recently, we've been notified, gone out to properties and found problems and shut their water off and notified them. The two currently listed here are receiving daily emails that they have a leak, but are choosing not to do anything about it, I guess.
What's the next step there?
It's really.
They have no
in their-
water.
They have water, and it's in their court if they're paying for the leak right now, so, and they're being notified.
It's called water everywhere, right?
Yeah.
What I suggested to Sue is that maybe at town meeting, we show a photo on the big screen of what I'll call an ice house.
Oh, yes.
Because
I've
I
had
know
one of
in your
those,
archives, you've got pictures of
I
that.
have put it in
And-
our water quality report before.
And use that as a reminder, and then maybe, use some of our interns or others to work the crowd with postcards that would return to say, here's my email. And
I don't want to give people hope, though, that we can save their house from ice water, because we don't get notified that there's a leak until 24 hours or later. Depending on, Laura looks every morning when she comes in. Well, if 24 hours is later in the afternoon, she's not going to get it till the next morning. If it happens over a weekend or a holiday weekend, it could be, it could start on Friday, and we won't notify them till Tuesday.
If you have Ion Water,
If you have Ion Water,
would
you'll
know.
catch it within 24 hours, but the damage is still
yes.
pretty much done.
It happened to me 1,000 years ago when I had the other rental property over near Captain Linnell. And I found out because the oil company came to fill the oil tank, and there wasn't any way for it to fill. And so they got in touch with, and it was the reason it wouldn't take anymore is because the water in the basement was up to the top steps, and the oil tank was floating.
Oh,
Yeah, and so, and the pipe that had burst was between the second floor and the ground floor. And so it just rained in the house and filled the basement. And, and then to turn the water off, because the ground was frozen, they had to find the shut-off in the ice in the yard. This was years ago,
It
before
definitely
Ion Water, but
It
still.
definitely saves water. We had outside showers burst and break. We went out to the property. We were able to get into basements, shut the water off at the meter, and you save them water. You haven't saved them the damage of what's occurred. If the damage occurs in the house, unfortunately, yes, okay, we can get in maybe, or we can shut the water off at the street, but the damage will already be done. It will save them from further damage and from a very large water bill, though.
I had a water leak in Harwich 30 years ago. Wasn't pretty.
That's the worst.
But as you can see, there's only 23% are signed up for Ion Water. We are adding, every time somebody sends me an email, asking a question about their bill or calls me and gives me their email address so I can send them a response, I add it to Eye on Water so that they will be alerted if there is a leak. So that's why we have 37% people who, it is more than I've added to today already, email addresses, so that will grow. Eventually, maybe we can have at least an email notification for every account.
So if we handed out Eye on Water signups at town meeting, and people didn't have their account number with them, could the water department put the account number on the slips and then sign them up?
It's the account number, and it used to be they had to call because it's a combination of your account number dash customer number. New billing has the account number and customer number on it now, so they can use their bills now to put in the account number dash and the customer number and create an account without calling us now.
Okay, I'm just thinking how we could gather.
So we can put the instructions on a new postcard and hand them out at town meeting.
Mark?
So, this is the way I see it. If you can get the insurance companies to give homeowners a discount if they have Eye on Water, the same way they do for burglar alarms, freezing alarms, and all other sorts of, you will get a response. Because probably one of the most horrendous things insurance companies, homeowners insurance companies, hate is to pay water damage in homes from bursting pipes. Now, this isn't quite as dramatic as that, but it still is within the same category. So I would, I don't know if you have an insurance committee in some subcommittee, one of the famous 38 committees that we have in Orleans to
We could just
look
call
into that.
an agent and find out what their process would be to consider it.
I think the insurance
No,
companies
just,
will only
you know,
know.
agents are, you know, you have to get to the place where it works. You have to talk to who are the insurers that insure and write and the underwriters. The underwriters are the people who make these decisions. So this is, I would say, Kevin, a political, you know, advocacy situation. But I think it might work. And if you could ever get them to put, do you have Eye on Water on their application for homeowners, you will really, you know, bring the whole thing together.
It's worth pursuing. Any other questions or comments at this point? Yeah, Tim?
What kind of a leak is 60 gallons a minute? Like if an outdoor shower blew up, which water is that going to leak?
It all varies, it depends on the size of the leak, but I've seen a toilet leak 200 gallons an hour. I've also seen it do 10 gallons an hour, so it varies. Open hose is gonna be about 35 gallons an hour.
Okay.
Okay. Good to know.
With regards to insurance, insurance companies do offer discounts for people who have the detector that shuts the water off. This does not do that. This does not stop the damage. It does, however, save on water.
Okay.
Next, you can see the monthly budget update as of the end of January. This is where the water department budget currently stands. Fairly good shape overall. However, you can see a few areas of large exceedance. We did have some generator repairs at the treatment plant that were not budgeted. The generator at the water treatment plant is currently in failure. It needs to be replaced. We're trying to hold it together until we do the expansion of the treatment plant and have to put in a new generator. So that's where a lot of that money went. We had some significant repairs, including 2 new tires on our backhoe, which is coming up for replacement in the next couple of years, I guess. So we've had to put a lot of money into that. So that explains the vehicle. It's not reflected in the budget yet, but I had, we did the cleaning of well 7 using funds here. You can see, we budgeted $30,000. The cost was $34,700, so it's already $4,700 over budget. They recommended an additional 53.5 hours of cleaning to bring it back to its original capacity. And that was roughly $23,000 that we didn't budget for. And then they needed to overhaul the motor and replace column pipe, which was an additional roughly $9,900. So I have put in a request for an article at town meeting to recover those funds to put back in my budget so that I can, in the same line items, you can see I have $20,000 under technology. I would really like to use that money for some security updates in our SCADA. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I don't recoup the money at town meeting for the well. Because I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul currently.
So that's the well on Quonset, yes?
Yes, it is.
That's
It's our-
really
our biggest
critical,
production
yeah.
well, so it
Critical.
was- Yeah.
And the one that we can bypass the water treatment plant. Okay.
It was critical, and it was worth the money to spend the extra to bring it back. But I will be looking to recoup that money, so you'll have an understanding when you perhaps hear about that coming up. Any other questions on the budget?
Any other questions, guys? No? Thank you.
Not on the budget. I was just wondering, is 16 water main breaks a lot in a month?
Yes. We have pretty much had a water main break a day.
Is that weather mostly?
It's weather, it's, the pipes are aging, it's the old cast iron pipes, it's, the hot and cold, it's the fact that most of them are in East Orleans and they were disturbed recently to put in sewers. All of that is a factor in all these water main breaks.
This is all town piping, this is not private piping.
Not private, it's all town. The guys have been working very hard. We had one last night, about 1 o'clock in the morning, over on Daly Terrace. 2 of the guys came out and worked on it last night.
Yeah, between Water Department, DPW, they've been working straight out for quite a while. Send them our appreciations. I know that doesn't go a long way, but it's,
I took donuts last week.
I
did do that.
Yeah, I dropped food off. Actually, I have some in my car that needs to go there too. So, yeah, it's just keep them warm.
I did put in some sampling information too. I mean, nothing earth-shattering, but it does show the bars are our results. The, let's do total trihalomethanes, for example. The blue line
That's the black.
is the total trihalomethanes. We did have an increase in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's not terrible, but it is concerning to me. I like to see it more level, like the halocetics below it. It's probably, once we flush in the spring, those all come down. Getting rid of stagnant water in the winter is a big help. But you can see the purple line up above, that's the maximum contaminant level for the state, so we can't exceed that. And then down, you can't even see it, but the California is the green line. If you went to the EWG website, where they have a water quality database, they would say our total trihalomethanes exceed their recommended limit, which is that green line. However, it does not exceed federal. Again, same with haloacetic acids. The green line above, that's the EPA limit. California's limit is down here in blue. We do slightly exceed that in their eyes. And then manganese. Here we're doing better. The orange line, the 50, is the MCL, or the EPA or DEP limit, and 100 is California, so go figure. And then, again, nitrates. We are in blue. The quarter 4 is probably similar reasons as the quarter 4 trihalomethanes. Again, once we flush, these will probably all come down. And California line in gray, the state or federal government, 10 parts per billion in orange. I just thought I'd give you a see of where we're at.
That's great.
So sort of to Tim's question about, is this the normal number of breaks? It's like, is this distribution that we're seeing, is this sort of the same kinds of distribution that you've seen other years? I mean, seeing it for one doesn't
Yep.
give me a
It
sense
goes up
of
and down.
where we are. Yeah.
Is it seasonal?
It's somewhat seasonal. It's somewhat dependent on, like I said, the water quality is always greatest after we've done our annual flushing in April, May. It's the reason we do it. It's the reason it's required that we do it. It just freshens the water throughout, gets rid of any organics in the water, like the like iron would be an organic in the water. Yeah, I mean, the water is not sterile.
And where are these taken?
Except in Israel.
These samples?
Yeah.
It depends. The trihalomethane and the haloacetic acids are taken at various spots in the distribution system that we have samples for, that we take regular bacteria samples for. The manganese and the nitrates are taken at the entry point to the distribution system, and are what I've shown you is our worst case scenarios. So we have some samples that are better, like from the water treatment plant, certainly we have no manganese coming out, where this is from facility 1, but we do have some manganese at well 8. And again, with the nitrates, this is from facility 1, not the water treatment plant.
We're not using well 8, right?
We are not. But we sample it in case we had to.
Kevin?
Just a thought, and Sue, you kind of alluded to it, and this is kind of the first time I'm seeing this amount of really helpful reporting detail, like the water main break
Yes.
history. And when you mentioned that, and it's clear, because, I mean, any of us that have followed the sewer work construction, I mean, you can see the roads. And, I'm thinking, and I'll reach out on your behalf, because we're allowed to cover direct cost associated with the sewer project in the project cost, all the way to including police detail. To me, if we can have a direct association between these water main breaks that were triggered through settlement changes or other disturbance from the, why wouldn't we charge the project,
Yeah.
not the department? So
Excellent.
just a thought. I'm
Yeah.
going to look into
That's
it.
a good thought, yes.
So a lot of these figures, when we have a water main break, we have an asset management program in the water department that we use. All our water mains, all our hydrants, all our water services, we have all of sewer in there with all the tie cards. It's so much information. We create work orders against these. So every time there's a water main break, we plot it on this asset management program. And these reports are created from that. So at some point, when we're less busy, I do want to do a demonstration of our asset management
Yeah.
program for you, to show you. We pay for it every year to show you how useful it is to us, and anyway, yeah.
That'd be a great idea. Thank you, Sue. I think this has been very helpful. So if there are questions from the commission or things you would like to see added to the report, you can either be in touch with me or you can be in touch with Sue. But this was great.
For Tim, I might add, so on the last page, it shows, dollars in revenue. I can add usage below it, so we can have dollars and usage. He was interested in seeing the
Yeah,
usage.
Super, yeah.
The other thing I was curious about was to show the rate changes. So if the rate went up by 5%, is that why the revenue went up by 5%? Or, so that's where you get the usage number
Usage,
as
yeah.
well. So I think we'd also have the rate. That would also be helpful in understanding how much of the increase would be generated by rate change versus.
We've
volume.
actually had years where we had a rate increase where we lost money, so.
Yeah, well,
It's just-
Yeah.
at least you need,
But
I think
I
you
can
need.
put, I can
Yeah,
put
you need all
above,
three you need the.
above the
three
year
numbers.
what-
Yeah.
Right, because
What the
we're
rate
telling people to pay more, but we're asking them to use less.
Oh, and that's great. I mean, that also begins to suggest, that yes, what are the incentives for less use? And how good was that incentive? So that's, just another piece of information. Thank you.
The other question that I asked Sue was, when did we put in the water meters, the electric meters? Because that was going to give us a better, more accurate measure, because we might have been over, it might have been less accurate before on whether we were overcharging or undercharging. So even just
Over-metering,
flagging,
undermetering.
it was,
because I'm not sure when they all went in,
they went in 2020.
so before this. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? Thank you, Sue. What's next, drought?
Drought status. So you have, we've made very little improvement. You can see in the blue line at the bottom, we're in the right direction. However, it's far below the trigger that is set by DEP up here. We need to get above this trigger line, this orange trigger line, to not have mandatory restrictions. We are still, as of February 11th, a level 2 drought with the state. So I will track it again going into our next meeting in March, but you should plan on voting so we can include it with the April 1 water bill, probably mandatory restrictions again.
Okay.
And depending on how the summer goes, and if this snow melt does improve things, we can always rescind the restriction going into the summer, depending on the drought status. But it may increase. As Nantucket is at a critical drought, we could end up there too, because we're already starting off lower than we ever have before in prior years.
So if we voted on that on March 18th and wanted to include language in the April 1 bill, should we be ready to have it go to press and before March 18th?
We've already started that conversation, so.
So the restrictions really would begin May 1st.
Right. We also want to be ready for town meeting too, so make sure that we're very clear. I think we need clarity. We know what the restrictions are, but I think
I think we should
absolute
work.
clarity
We should work on what we're going to put into the bill
between now and.
between now and our March meeting. Vote on it in the March meeting, have it ready to go into the April 1 bills
Okay,
and to May town meeting.
yeah, perfect. Sounds like
I've
a
got
good goal.
a quick question. I don't know much about hydrology, but how much of our consumption affects the ground, the water table, versus how much of the, sort of,
It
how
doesn't.
much rain we got during the year?
It doesn't. It's all based on precipitation.
So it's all precipitation.
And the type of
The lack of.
precipitation, because sometimes it doesn't make it into the groundwater, it doesn't make it into
So
the aquifer.
in the spring, when you have a lot of rain, it's going to the new plantings that are taking it up for growth. There's runoff. The best is snowpack with a slow melt into the ground.
But I mean, it wouldn't say that by trying to drive really high conservation of water, we could get the ground table to come back up. It's,
We need rain.
right,
Need rain, you need even better snow.
Right, yeah.
okay.
And this is great snow, but it's an inch a foot, so it's
Not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. I don't want I don't want enough snow.
I think it's
I
enough.
want several days of gentle rain, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions about, for Sue? All right, thank you. Moving on. The Water Rates Working Group is aiming towards Fall Town meeting.
All town meeting.
Okay. The next item is Water Commissioner Matters for 2026 Action Items List, and Kevin Mahoney's going to take over this conversation. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. It wasn't meant just to be 2026. The idea was to develop some cadence, or whatever word you want to use. So as we head into each fiscal year, the board will document what we think are the important deliverables for the board, things we want to accomplish, what we may owe the select board, what we may owe the Board of Health. And they're going to be the same items year in and year out, water rates, sewer rates, et cetera. But then there are gonna be matters that are associated with, in our case, a particular phase, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, that we have responsibilities for certain matters. Then there are just special projects that we want to deal with. And so the idea would be to kind of document all of that so that board members and others can contemplate those things, and if they choose, better prepare to discuss matters associated with those items as the year goes along. So that was kind of the idea. It wasn't really just 2026. But we could start with 26 and also begin to develop 27, fiscal 27. And so I put together for this group, this board, a listing of some suggested items. And the intent wasn't to go through each of those items and do a deep dive into them today. If people are curious, what do you mean by this, or what do you mean by that, I can respond to it. But the other request was that for other board members who are here, what are some things that they think we should be responsible for or want to accomplish? And then to Kevin, to Sue, to John, from your perspective, what are the things that you're expecting from us in any given year that we would then consider to go on the list? And at least that way, it's, as a group, we all have visibility towards, the next year and a half, and we can get smarter on some things if we choose to. So that was the idea, and how we go from here, we can decide. Perhaps it's just to allow others to make some suggestions, and then review some of the items that are on here or talk about them, and then the next meeting we come up with a more comprehensive or smarter list, and at some point kind of publish it and update it as meetings occur during the year. That was the idea.
So a roadmap and an assignment list?
Well, we could get to the, who wants to roll up their sleeves and take more responsibility for some matters versus others. But to me, the first step would be, documenting, call them deliverables, objectives, whatever, and then we can decide, who may want to take greater responsibility for certain matters than others. But to me, it was more, what are the matters, what are the issues, what are the things we need to deliver on, and go from there.
And so Sue also put together a list of things that are
Yeah.
on her calendar.
And so apparently in the past, Sue had done something similar to this called an action items list, which is great. I don't think I had a lot of visibility to it, but, so we put both in the package, and at some point, we would, kind of combine and come up with kind of a master list for 26 and now for 27. And, it isn't so much that we're gonna, keep it updated meeting by meeting by meeting. It's more just so that folks can say, yeah, right, okay, we're responsible for, communicating this to the select board or to the Board of Health. Have a sense as to when that has to take place and how I may want to get a little bit smart on that matter beforehand. That's all.
Janae?
Yes?
One of the things that, and I think that terrific to be able to do this, and again, blending, merging with Sue's list. But one thing that I think that would be really helpful, that perhaps Kevin could help us with, would clarity with regard to who's driving the bus on a couple of these things. So for example, sewer user rules and regs, as well as what's not specific, not on here, is the property owner guidelines. Is it the wastewater management advisory committee? Is it Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners? And then we have the wastewater website. Who should drive, who's got the ball? Who should be driving initiatives to keep those in the best shape? So that's a roles and responsibility question that I would have to get that clarified by whoever is the clarifier, the chief clarifier. That would be helpful. And also to really go with some of this as well is something that, you and I have talked about over time, is the whole undercurrent, the backdrop of a lot of this is onboarding and education and keeping new players of this board as well as the Wastewater Advisory Management Committee, FinCom, and other related boards and committees with regard to the whole financial, where does the money come from, who's it used for, and so on. All of that would be, and it crosses across this committee, this board, as well as wastewater management advisory and so on. So finding roles and responsibilities before we decide to just jump in and own one of these.
Right.
Let's be sure we understand what the process is, to how best get it done, and then who does it go to? And, whose role is it to recommend to who for what?
Yeah, though I will say that there have been a number of people who have jumped in and taken on roles of responsibility because a particular issue spoke to them. So some of that's being dealt with, but yes, we need to identify, I think, where we want to go and how to get there. So do you have a process in mind?
A process, well, I'd like to, I have a process in mind to develop what I would call a preliminary master list for 26 and 27, and started with what I put here.
Okay.
And I'm happy to touch on each of them, so for others, what do you mean by this? And then maybe that may trigger other suggested items from, as I said, people on the board, from Kevin, from Sue, from John, that they think we expect this of you. So I can do that if this time allows. And then we would, just document it as we head into a new fiscal year. We've got a documented master list. And obviously, from time to time, each of those items will make its way onto an agenda for a particular meeting, and we'll spend more time on that at that meeting. An example would be, I put on here, enhancing the focus of SOAR financial performance. What does that mean? Well, if we look at, eventually we're gonna get a budget from Rich, and it'll show revenues, it'll show spend, and then there's what I call kind of this plug. It's the draw from the wastewater stabilization fund. you know, and this year was budgeted to be some $2.4 million. And that's the items expected because we're in the early stages of this, you know, multi-phase, multi-decade project. But, you know, my question was, well, several years ago or 2 years ago, what do we expect we would have to draw from that stabilization fund? My hunch is this probably was less than 2.4 million. And so I just think, you know, as a board, we should have some visibility into that particular line item, right? And, because theoretically, that should all net to zero, I think, at the end of the decades. And so, because I think having that as context allows us to make maybe even better decisions on, do we give people 1 year or 2 years, you know, well, you wanna go 2 years, then this is what the impact's gonna be on that draw from the stabilization fund, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's what I meant by that, which is, you know, I think one of our focuses should be, is, you know, having that number be as low as possible, that draw from the water stabilization fund, and what could we do to accomplish it? So
But I
there's
guess
that.
I would, you know, on things like that, again, making sure it's understood the role of the board versus whose responsibility is it to do certain ones of these things.
Yeah, and for that was more, I was mentioning is to have that context. Now, maybe we're not responsible for the numbers, but to have the context, it would be important to me as we make decisions, meeting in, meeting out, on, you know, such things as we give someone 2 years to hook up or 1 year to hook up. Well, there are implications that come out of that, that impact this line item on our budget. So I'm not saying that we're responsible for that, but I'm saying having that as context for decision-making, I think is beneficial personally. And then, so that's what I meant by that. I had targets for sewer efficiency spends. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, we get a report from Veolia every month that shows revenues and it shows expenses. And I think Rich tries to manage that sewer spend so that the spending is somewhat similar to septage fees and sewer rates is what he works towards. But how do we know how efficient that spend is? So, you know, I said to Rich in a meeting we had at one point, you know, I know we spend 2.2 million a year or so on the sewer operating costs. What does that look like versus other towns? And how do you measure it? Do you measure it based upon gallons that are handled, or, you know, it's fine that Rich tries to manage revenues to equal those expenses, but how do we, as a board, determine whether or not that spend is efficient? And I'm not suggesting to Veolia that it's not, but it's, so that's what I meant, you know, by that particular line item, streamlining considerations. What I mean by that? Well, with the board here, these meetings, there's been a lot of things that come to us that we vote on, that I'm like, gosh, you know, I have supreme confidence in Sue, supreme confidence in Todd, that can't they just make these decisions and not have to get board approval? I mean, I think we did consider that with the, what was it, drain layer applicants? I think at one point we said, you know, we don't need to see that.
And
But,
that's
you know, I look
probably
at the-
something
I
we-
see here a $55 approval for some abatement and so forth. So is there a certain dollar amount that we could say, Sue, we trust you to go ahead?
We
and-"
probably would need to go back through legal
Okay,
and
so-
through the state law and confirm what the flexibility is with regard to what the legal authority of the board is and where there can be some flexibility to allow for the department to do things and then bring those answers to the board as a done deal.
So that's what I meant by that item, recognizing there are bylaws that require this or that. That's just what I meant by it, and we don't need to, you know, resolve it today. But maybe it becomes a topic, you know, for a couple of meetings from now. We say, hey, let's spend a little time on it. Could we take some steps? And then someone say, hey, I'll take care of that. And that way, it allows for more time for substantive matters. Not to say these are not important, but I don't view them as substantive. So that's what I meant by that. So I don't know, Ginny, I can go through all of these, you know, and say, hey, what do you mean by that? But I had enhancing visibility to pertinent wastewater advisory material. Well, finally, I've gone to a couple of the wastewater advisory meetings, and I find there's some really interesting material that's presented by AECom, slides that talk about phases and this and that, and I just think some of that information this board should get. And that's what I meant by that.
Right.
And so, okay, what's the process for, someone deciding, hey, that's worthwhile information for the Water and Sewer Board members to see. Tim Harrison, send it to them,
Yeah.
So, I don't want to take up the time and go through all of these. Of course, every year, we're gonna be responsible for sewer rates and water rates, and, we have our phase two, and I think we all think we wanna maybe improve a little bit on betterments and the appeal process that we all experienced in phase one. What can we do to improve that process? And maybe that could be an agenda item coming up. That's something, that I think we should have as a topic at a meeting to, how do we improve that process? Both for the residents of the town and, I think we could do better communicating to folks who did appeal for things as to, why we were restrained, from perhaps calculating things in a different manner. So, I don't know, Gene, I've got my eye on the clock, but I was trying to just get input from others as to what they think, are matters that, or things we want to do to be more effective, meet people's expectations, and then come up with this master list, so.
So you're not planning to solve the problem today?
No, but I think between today and maybe next meeting, we could get really close to kind of a master list that everyone on this board, and Kevin and John and Sue think we ought to
And
have
Elaine.
our eye on.
And Elaine?
Yeah, yeah. So that's, so it would require some input from others, and then, I'm happy to kind of work this thing. And I don't think getting notes from folks between meetings with some suggested topics violates any communication.
No, as
matter,
long as
so-
you don't start a conversation
Right,
with,
and so I can work this as the meeting, we go from this meeting to next meeting and come up with a list that we can distribute in the next package, but that's what I had in mind.
So, thank you for this, and what it takes to do it. This is essentially, in my view, a linear document, and I would like to think in terms of something that's a little bit more elliptical and more in a flow chart where you begin to have dates and events that have to come together, and you begin to integrate all those parts of this community and this town to make that particular thing happen and focus on it. The other thing is, just by a point of privilege, having been a lawyer for 52 years, and I think there's an opportunity now to begin to use council in a flow system, in a planning system, rather than a reactive system. Because when Lynn brings out this issue of well, we have to comply with this bylaw or this statute, and you bring up the issue about the $15 abatement, and then you bring in the regulations that are here. There has to be an ongoing dialogue, at least in my experience, between your legal piece and your planning and your actual piece, so that you can make some adjustments along the way. If you want to have an omnibus situation where you don't have to, go through every single abatement for $15, and you want to channel decisions that can be done administratively when you have trust in people, there are ways to accomplish that. And now, I think you've essentially changed council, which has been going on for a long time, and I'm assuming this law firm is basically a municipal law firm. Okay. And then the next question is, how diversified are they, or how integrated are they? In other words, is there somebody there who is assigned to bylaws? Is there somebody there who's assigned to regulations? So you can begin to, have all the pieces come together and meet rather saying that, from my vantage point, the way the regulations occurred in terms of enforcement is just an example of how it might be done better. That's all. So, again, I really thank you for this. This is a beginning. And just another thing is, and see, that once we have our important priorities, I think everybody just doesn't raise their hand and say, well, gee, I'll take this and I'll take that one and so forth. You really have to assign, A, B, C, D, D to each one of us. And we recognize that that is a responsibility that we have, and we become sort of silent subcommittees of the board. So again, this is a great breakthrough. And I also would say that one of the things I would add is our ability to communicate with the people in the community in a way that makes a difference. Okay, and I am not picking on the iron water piece of paper that comes to the mail, but I can just see what's that that goes to and I just had a friend who said he had a water leak, and he says, I have wire and water. So that's wonderful. Did you bother to look at it? No. Well, why? Because of the fact that, well, if it's iron water and I know about it, obviously the water department knows over, and they're going to come over and shut it off. There you go. And this is a guy with a PhD. You understand? PhD in English, not in engineering, but aside from it. So the idea, I mean, I would love to see a system where that chart was flashed in front of the public. Oh, here's where we are. And so, oh, what's that, Mommy? Well, that's a chart that shows that. Oh, okay. So I could go on and on, but I don't want. But congratulations. It's a great beginning.
Public information down here as well.
Yeah.
Ginny, I was trying to figure out how to sort of do this in buckets, what the headings are, and whether or not this is put together as water, sewer, capital expense, regular expenditures, communications, financial implications, educational points, and sort of like how do we sort of begin to frame what it is that we do, where all those pieces are, and then figure out where they connect and how they should be bucketed together. I'm just doodling here, and I haven't quite seen what the structure is, because I think there are, first of all, I think this is great, because I think it's really important for us as a commission to understand what our goals for the year are, and how that fits into the select board's goals, and how that fits into the financial goals of the town. I mean, and sort of understanding what that looks like. And I don't think we've never sort of stopped, at least I don't feel we've ever stopped and sort of said, that's what we want to do. And I think there's sort of this, what's the framework that we're currently operating in and that we have to understand better. Mm-hmm. And then what are those, what I would call issues or flashpoints or whatever, that get listed, and how do those fall into the capital budget? How does that fall into the operating budget? How does that, how do we have to respond? Is this something we have to be reactive to, or is this something we need to be planning for? And so I'm seeing, unfortunately, sort of this Rubik's Cube. It's a multi-dimensional thing. But I'm seeing, for each thing, there are education points, because to your point, Lynn, I think there's a lot of education that needs to be done of board members, just in general. I mean, I'm thinking, Sue, when you were going through your report, I'm thinking, okay, we need to take 2 steps back was great, but we now need to take 2 steps back so that we all understand how you do what you do, why you think those things are important, sort of the history behind it, so that we're kind of understanding the why of some of this stuff. So I think there's and then there's the education of the interrelated committees, commissions, so that everybody understands what they're supposed to be doing. And then there's that external, if I want to call it that, to, you know, to the voter, to the resident, to the property owner, why all this, you know, what does that mean to them? But, you know, some of this intricacy is not what matters to them. What matters to them is that their water rates are now going up by 900% instead of 2, or something like, I mean, or that they really do need to be doing their water consumption differently. And so there's a, so I'm seeing this multifaceted thing, which I think we need to
Kind of looks like an
harness.
octopus.
Yeah, but I think we need to harness it, and I think we can if we come up with that structure that says, this is how we feel comfortable looking at our topics.
Can I jump in for 1 second, and then I'll give you the microphone?
I just wanted to respond as your liaison.
Okay.
I mean, just a reminder, you have support for this. It's like wonderful that you're becoming a more proactive board than I've seen in the past, which is great. Certainly between staff as your liaison and support and select board, to the point asked about new town council. We have Mike Ford on remaining as special town council if there's lingering matters that he might have dealt with, and you know there are a few that still are out there. So that was the purpose of this gradual transition. But to the point of the skill set and availability of the depth that we have with Murphy Hesse, they are tremendous, both from land, from bylaws, regulations, and into the specific areas that you mentioned. So office hours are every Tuesday. Sue has access if there's a issue that you say, gee, we'd like to explore, could we do this? Or the thing I've learned whenever you deal with attorneys, and I mean this respectfully, is frame your question so it's clear. You need to ask them, we would like to do X, Y, Z. Once they have clarity on that, they can say, oh, Leominster's done this, or Lawrence, or Holden, or pick the town. And they can basically say, this is available to you if you'd like to. So here are the steps you would want to adopt, either at town meeting, at select board, or maybe you have the power to do it right here. And that's the interesting thing about the more you lay out what you'd like to do, the more you'll find we can already do that. The charter gives us this right, or we have to ask somebody. So I think continue on your course, all good, and I just, you know, I'm here to help support the good work you're doing.
Can I ask you a question? What's the capability of the town, whether it be in executive or the staff session, for sophisticated AI business analytics? Is there any capability to do that?
We have got to address this. If you did listen to the interview that the select board did with our new council, I asked that question.
And do they have it?
I asked them, do they have an AI policy, you know, for council and their staff? And actually, this shows how rapidly this is moving. Their answer was they're working on it, because they do have a review committee that has to review all their policies. But your point is really good. I, you know, still do, kind of off topic, but it is related, some consulting. And I was required to put together an AI consulting guidance policy just the other day that guides what I do. If I use AI in my analytics, I actually have to disclose it depending on the level of AI use. This is all evolving, you guys, so rapidly. It's good, but it has to be properly looked after, so.
Thank you. I was just going to jump in for a minute, if I could, and say that I'm very excited about moving the processes forward. People have, up to this point, jumped in where they found interest, you know,
Water rates.
water rates, and process, and, you know,
Management plan.
history, And so we've ended up with this old business topics, which is my bucket for the kinds of things we've been talking about, IT security, drought plan outreach. This is how I remember what's going on. But I think we can not necessarily do everything that's on these lists, but figure out where the responsibilities lie. And if you see something that's on any of these working lists that piques your interest, speak up, let us know, because I won't say I don't care about water rates, but it's not my thing. You know? But there are other things that I find very interesting. So what do you want us to do as the next step, Kevin? Do you want us to go home, look at these things, see if we have areas of interest?
Sure. I mean, that would be, if folks could take a look at both the lists. There was three. One was also 2027 that wasn't in the packet, but not a big deal. So yes, I mean, take a look at both of the lists. We're gonna consolidate them, but more, it isn't, so there are things that we're responsible for, like setting the rates and this and that, but there are other things, like an example, enhancement to Phase 2 betterment and betterment appeals communication to property owners. What does that mean? Well, I wasn't thrilled about some of the things we had to deal with in Phase 1. So what could we do to improve communication to the property owners to reduce the number of possible appeals? Because I made a point to some folks that came up, I said, look, it's the total dollars are there that have to be absorbed by the property owners in Phase 1. So we can debate all day long about the denominator, but, the money, and so I think explaining some of those things in the communication in part of Phase 2 might make it a little bit easier, and I just want to avoid, some of these back and forths we had with people in town, as much as we can. And so someone might say, yeah, I agree with you. So we say, okay, that's on the list of things that we want to do this year, and we'll decide what agenda we put that on, and we'll spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes or more having a good discussion about how we can improve that communication process so we don't have to go through what we went through the first time around, just as an example. So
Okay.
if there are other matters that folks would want to speak up about, send me an email. And at the next meeting, I'll try to get everyone's input consolidated onto one master list. And Mary, I was more focused on the items, versus, because they're not all gonna be an item that we need to divide and conquer and get a couple people focused on. Some is just, we wanna have this on an agenda in a future meeting for the whole group to have a good discussion about. So it's more a master list of the matters and the issues and the things, if you will, and how we go about tackling those, either subcommittee or a broad group discussion. I think that can be determined later.
Thank you.
So I'll manage this, so at the next meeting, we have a master list. And to Kevin, to Sue, John, please, if there's some things that you think, no, I think you folks have responsibility for this, or could do this better, or this should be a matter you spend a little more time with, let me know, we'll get that on our list.
Or let's not do this.
Yeah,
Even a let's not do this.
I thought you meant the list itself.
Oh, no, I meant, no, I just meant, oh, not for us today, right? So that's great, thank you very much. Is there anything, I think we're not reviewing, I'm just looking, I don't think there's anything else except the drought outreach plan, and we've been talking about that, and I think we know that
Working on it.
that timeline is coming up
Yep.
really quickly. Does anyone have anything else? Yes, Tim?
Is it going to be a March 3rd meeting?
It looks like there's
4th, whatever
going to
that
be a March 3rd meeting.
March 3rd?
4th,
or whatever it is.
March
Whatever
4th.
the-
March 4th. I think we should plan on a March 4th meeting, because even if we cannot do the
Substantial completion.
substantial completion, Rich wants to do budget. He wants to talk to us about budget, so I think we have enough we could talk about. And then it's not a yes, no kind of thing. Let's have a meeting on March 4th.
Yeah, just looking at some emails just recently,
Yeah.
it does look like, aside from what Adam needs to just get certified, which should happen Monday on the programming.
Oh, yeah,
That means Clearwater Test DEP is good.
Okay.
I think all that we're down to is just a small, and I mean really small number of issues with acceptance from the contract and from you as far as substantial completion from CC Construction. So I think we're there.
Okay.
I mean,
So I
they-
think we should plan on that.
Right.
And we'll build an agenda around that, just in case. Okay. All right. If there is nothing else, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
In a second?
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't need to do it by roll call? Aye. Thank you.